It used to be if you wanted to get your film out there in front of the world, you would send it to film festivals. But I think today, at least for short films, film festivals don't really do a ton for the filmmaker except let them enjoy their film in a crowded movie theater. Today we have the internet. The whole world can be your film festival if you just want to get your film out there, but you can't replicate that movie theater experience without film festivals. Aha, yes you can. You can do what I just did with The Lost Fortune of Oliver Brody, my new short film. Rent out your own movie theater, invite some other filmmakers to show their short films alongside yours, sell tickets, promote the event, and see how it winds up. So stick around, I'm going to show you how to do it step by step, give you all the numbers, and you'll probably be able to do it better than I just did it. Now, the first thing I had to do was find a movie theater. So I had my virtual assistant Nomi scrape the web for any movie theaters in Los Angeles that rent out their screens. And pretty quick, she got back to me with this big list of movie theaters. From there, we made this short list of real contenders and then a final list. And you can see some of the prices here, pretty steep. Again, we are in Los Angeles. I actually did this one time before in Richmond, Virginia, my hometown, when I made my first feature film. We rented out this historic movie theater called the Bird Theater. Beautiful old cinema palace. And I was selling tickets for $2 each, just trying to get as many friends and family in there to see it as possible. And that was possible because the theater rental was super cheap. I want to say it was like $500. Of course, this is like 10, 15 years ago now, but big difference between that and $2,000 for the cheapest option, right? There were some requirements that I had that knocked a lot of these off the list. For example, I wanted it to have enough seats. There's a lot of screening theaters in LA that are made for like little preview screenings that might only seat 50 people. But the thing is, I was selling the tickets pretty cheap. And even if I sold out, the math would work out that I would be guaranteed to make a loss. So I figured, why guarantee a loss when I could take the chance at having a profit potentially, or breaking even. Other big considerations were parking. You know, we are in Los Angeles, that can get pretty expensive. I wanted there to be concessions. I wanted there to be alcohol available. So a lot of places got ruled out just because they were too inconvenient or they just didn't have enough nice little perks. The cheapest of these, $2,000 for a 2-hour rental, is this Lumiere Cinema, and that is the theater I ended up going with. It's in Beverly Hills. And another thing to note about all these is they have different rates for different days of the week and different times of day. So if you wanted to do your screening at the Lumiere Cinema at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, that's going to be way cheaper than doing it on a Friday or Saturday night. Once I had a list of possible venues, I wanted to try to figure out what the demand would be for this event. So I went on my email list, Friday Film Notes, and I just sent out a quick poll saying, I'm doing this event. If you're interested, join the wait list. You'll be the first to notified when the tickets are available. A whopping 52 people out of 11,000 subscribers joined the wait list. At that point, I realized, I don't think we have to worry about having a really big venue for this, which is fine. But it was just, I needed that data. I needed a sense of what kind of demand there might be. But the other way to help figure that out and to build demand for your event is to build a good lineup. So Julian Terry and Julian Curry, I already knew. I just texted them, asked them if they wanted to do it. And Pony Smasher, aka David F. Sandberg, I sent him a cold email and just crossed my fingers. Unfortunately, he was familiar with my channel and up to show one of his short films on the big screen because he'd never seen it on the big screen before. And I'd say if you're doing this to premiere a short film that you made, you should aim to have your whole show, your whole lineup, take 60 minutes at least. We did about exactly an hour of films followed by a 30-minute Q&A/panel talk. And that seemed like a good amount of time. Let's talk about expenses for this thing. First thing I had to figure out was how expensive are the tickets going to be? And I was very intent on keeping the tickets cheap. So I set the tickets at $10 each, which to me was low enough. It's not gonna be a reason that you don't go to the event, but high enough that there's a chance that if I sold 248 seats, which is the capacity of the movie theater, that I would kind of like break even. So here's a breakdown of all the expenses for this premiere. The biggest expense by far was the theater rental itself. After that, they had a $150 add-on for getting our film's name on the marquee. I want the video of me standing in front of the marquee, come on. After that, I gave $330 to Simple DCP to make our DCP for the screening. Now, if you don't know what a DCP is, it is a digital cinema package. Basically, it is a format of your movie that a movie theater projector knows how to play properly and there won't be any issues. Simple DCP is a popular company out here, at least, for people to send their short films or their feature films to get those DCPs created. However, it wasn't just my film I was screening here. I was screening 5 other short films at this event, so I had to have DCPs for all of those films. So I took it upon myself to make my own DCPs. I used a program called DCP-O-Matic, which is free, and it's amazing. So I probably would do that next time. I don't think I would pay for a DCP, especially for a short film again. If you're doing a premiere, I feel like you gotta have a big poster printed out. So I had a big poster printed out from Staples. This wasn't strictly necessary, but I wanted to have some postcards made just as like a souvenir for people who came. And then I ran some Instagram and YouTube ads promoting the event. I will get to those later and tell you how much I spent and whether or not that paid off. Now, there were some other expenses that I decided not to take on that I could have. For example, Lumiere Cinema offered a popcorn and drinks package where for $6 a head, I could get everybody a bag of popcorn and a soda if I wanted. I figured no, people will get whatever they want at the concession stand. I'm already spending too much money as it is. Another thing is what's called a step and repeat. It's just a place where people can take photos and line up, feels more like a movie premiere. I wasn't about to deal with the cost and logistics of putting that together, so I didn't even look into it. Another thing is merch, which I decided not to do, but I'll come back to whether or not I think that was a good idea. Hey, Kent from the Edit jumping in to say that big poster that I made, well, I didn't actually make that. That was made by John Godfrey over at Chargefield, but he also made a really cool new tool that I wanted to tell you about. Go to billingblocks.com, and with this free tool he made, you can very easily create professional billing block titles for the end of your trailer or for the bottom of your movie poster. There's a few ways you can use it. You can go up here and go to download template, and then you'll just create a Excel spreadsheet with all of your credits pasted in there, and then you upload it right here with the import button, and then it's just going to automatically create it for you. You can do it right here in the browser too. For example, Standard Story Company, and then lowercase, presents, uppercase, The Lost Fortune of Oliver Brody. And you can just keep going from there. You can also add individual credits right here. Directed by Kent Lamm, Casey Bornell, multiple producers here. And I can just go down here and hit the down arrow, and that'll move it down, start a new line for me. Move this down too. I can move this down again. If you want to mess with it even more, you can go over here and change the letter spacing, get something cool and sci-fi looking like that. You have all kinds of controls. Just export it either as an SVG or as a PNG with transparent background. You're done. If you want to come back and work on it again later, just hit the save button. It'll ask for your email address, and you can come back to it whenever you want. Such a handy tool. Thank you, John Godfrey over at Chargefield, for making this and for making it free. Check out his movie posters. Hire him to make your next movie poster and key art. All right, enough of that. Let's get to how I marketed this movie premiere, because that was by far the hardest part of the whole process. All right, so I had my lineup of filmmakers, I had my DCPs made, I had my venue, I had my date, I had my time. Now it was time to get people to actually show up to this thing. Now, our ticket seller was the theater itself, which made things a lot easier for me because all I had to do was point people to their website and the page that they set up for the ticket sales. They were going to be the box office, they would handle the transaction, and then after the event, they would send me the box office report of how many tickets were sold and pay that money out to me. So I started going through every channel I could to get the word out there. First, it was the ticket wait list that I had set up over email. Then I promoted it in a couple of YouTube videos. I sent it out to the full email list. I did Instagram stories, and in the final week before the premiere, pretty much every day I was posting something like an Instagram reel and repurposing that as a YouTube short. Now, I also boosted that stuff on Instagram and did some YouTube ads, but before I get into the specifics of that, there was one other aspect to this premiere that I thought might help with the draw of getting people there, which was I was able to do a free prize giveaway at the event. So I made sure to mention that in all of the promotion leading up to it. Hollyland, who sponsored the film, they also agreed when we first set this up to give away some microphones when we eventually premiered this film. However, I really don't think that mattered at all. I don't think it moved the needle for anybody. So if you're gonna do a giveaway, it's like fun at the event, but I don't think it's gonna put butts in seats. Now let's talk about the Instagram and YouTube ads that I ran for this this event. Man, this was probably my biggest whiff of this entire thing. I figured it would be kind of easy to get those ads set up because I was like, oh, I'll just take the short form content I'm already making and just kind of boost it. But there's some problems with it. One, I've never really played with ads much before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. Here's what I spent: $95 in ads on Meta and $200 in ads on Google. That includes YouTube ads. Here's what that led to: 245 clicks into the sales page for tickets through the Meta ads and 1,000 clicks through the Google or YouTube ads. I don't know how accurate they are because they really did not lead to a lot of ticket sales as far as I can tell. So adding all of this up, our total expenses were $2,910, which I can tell you is more than I thought I was gonna be spending. I really was hoping this whole thing was gonna be about $2,000 even, but once I started putting it together, I was like, wow, it was pretty expensive. Now again, there were ways this could have been cheaper. I'll get back to that at the end, but first let's find out what we actually brought in. What is our box office total? All right, drum roll. Here's how many tickets we sold: 99. And at $10 a pop, that means our box office total was $990, which means our total profit was negative $1,920. Yikes. Didn't want that to happen. So now let's talk about what I would have done differently, how I could have saved money, how I could have earned more money. Well, the biggest, most obvious lesson is I shouldn't have been doing the ads. The ads, I believe, were a big waste of time, and I don't think many of the people there were from the ads. Actually, when I did the prize giveaway, I had people scan a QR code that took them to a Google form. I did ask them how they found out about the event, and if I sort it through, only 3 people says they found out about it through an ad, which is pretty low. 1 from the email list, 10 or 11 are just from a friend. Most were through the YouTube channel. There's another newsletter down there. So the ads were the biggest whiff. And again, I should have had probably somebody who's experienced managing that for me and running those ads. I had no idea what I was doing. By the way, another small expense that's not included on here is having a videographer at the premiere. That was really more for the YouTube video, which was sponsored by HelloFresh, so I made a little bit of money back there. But I do recommend, even if you don't have a YouTube channel, get a videographer or a photographer there, even if it's just deputizing a friend or a parent. Those kinds of photos of you at your own film premiere or in front of the marquee, in front of a crowd with the microphone, whatever, are just so good for marketing yourself as a filmmaker down the road. Now, another big opportunity to make more money would have been to raise the costs of the tickets. I was actually talking to some people outside the theater at the end of the night who said that they thought I made the tickets too cheap. That makes a lot of sense when you think about my goal was to break even if I sold out. That's not really like good business strategy. I should have made the tickets enough that if I sold out, I would have made some profit. So if I do that math right now, $15 per ticket, that means the box office would have been closer to $1,500. I would have been down $1,425. Another thing I think I should have done would be to sell a few like strategic pieces of merch, not much, and only enough that I would be pretty positive that I would sell out. Because if you buy 50 shirts and you sell 5 of them, then now you've lost money trying to sell merch, which is just a nightmare. But I could have sold some posters, a couple of shirts, Blu-rays and DVDs with like bonus features you wouldn't get anywhere else. That might actually sell the best. And if I was able to make these things cheaply and sell them at a real premium, and maybe they're all autographed, or well, I don't know if anybody actually wants that, but whatever you think people are gonna want, make them very limited, quantities, so that people will feel like, oh, I can get one of the 3 shirts that are available tonight or something for $30. So I do think I probably could have made, an extra couple $100 on merch if I was strategic about that. But let's talk about how I could have saved money. First off, didn't need the DCP, so that could have been 0. Could have made that myself. The postcards were a nice to have, but not required. I could have made that 0. The ads could have been 0 and 0. And already we are at only $730 down. Besides selling more tickets, I do wish that I would have tried to negotiate with the theaters. I didn't actually try to haggle with any of the theaters that I talked to, and I probably should have. The other thing is I could have gone to a different venue that was way cheaper. This one, the Hemet Theater downtown, would have ended up costing, I think, $700 for like 8 hours. I would have had it all day. It doesn't look quite as good to me. It looks a little bit more like an auditorium. For the price difference, what, $700 for the entire day? I could have done multiple screenings if I wanted to. At that point, I'd be up considerably without even selling any more tickets. There's also other venues. You know, if you go to Peerspace or Gigster, those are websites that I use to like find locations for films sometimes. They have locations that you can rent out for small screenings. So that might have ended up being cheaper. I do think I would have sold more tickets if I had splurged for that extra additional charge to do the screening on a Friday or Saturday night. I think doing it on a Wednesday night like I did it was not the smartest move. In my head, I was like, well, if I do it on a Wednesday, I'm not competing with any fun weekend activities people might already have. On the flip side, it's, you know, it's a school night, it's a work night, people have stuff going on. One more tip, not related to the financials, is if you're gonna be premiering your film, you might wanna bring on a friend or somebody extroverted to be the MC for the night, or at least to lead the Q&A or panel discussion you do with the filmmakers at the end of the day. That way you get somebody to ask you about your film as well, and you don't have to kind of do double duty of interviewing people and, you know, trying to answer questions about your film too. And then lastly, two things that I would have done to increase ticket sales. One is I think it's important to brand the event in a way. I just kind of said like, hey, here's my short film, and then here's these other filmmakers that are gonna be there. It might have been more effective to say like, here's, you know, the night of YouTube filmmakers or whatever, because several of us have made films that went viral on YouTube, and that's kind of how we started our careers. Or if you have a genre film like a slasher short film, get other slasher horror short films with you, call it Splatterfest or whatever, and you can reach out specifically to the people who are into that type of film, which is going to be easier. And lastly, make it easy for the attendees to spread the word. You know, give them graphics or images that you've created that they can post on their Instagram story to get the word out there. Incentivize them to get more people to come with some kind of like social media contest for ticket sales. Anything you can think of to get the people who already want to come to get other people to want to come is going to exponentially boost how many people show up. And with this breakdown, if I had just gotten an extra 50 people to show up, look at that, I would have made over $1,000 on this screening, which is not too shabby for something that honestly was one of the most fun nights I've had in so long. So was this all worth it? Look. Yeah, it was worth it. It was a lot of money, I'm gonna be honest. That was a little offset by the fact that I made a YouTube video about it that was sponsored, so it's like, how much money was it? I don't really know. Fact is though, what a night. I'm never gonna forget it. I met so many people. It was so fun interacting with the people who really engage with this channel and the films, talking to them, experiencing the film with them for the first time. It's amazing. And the other filmmakers that showed up too, like, it got me fired up about filmmaking in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. So I definitely think it's worth it. I think other filmmakers should do it. Band together, bring all of your people together for one big event. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the time of your life. And if you can do it cheap enough, if you can find a venue that'll work with you on price and keep your expenses, I'd say under $1,000, I think you're gonna have a real good shot of at least breaking even, hopefully even making a little money. So this is how you put a premiere together. If you want to experience what it's like behind the scenes on the night of the premiere, watch this video. If you want to see the film itself that I thought was worth putting a premiere together for, watch the film, The Lost Fortune of Oliver Brody. Thanks.